SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
My dear students of vibrant Gujarat and that of Veer Narmad South Gujarat University Surat, as I have selected the topic of English literature from your syllabus, I am happy to address you today. I am thankful to Bhaskaracharya Institute of Space Applications and Geoinformatics BISAG, SANDHAN project and KCG for giving me this opportunity to address you today. It gives me immense pleasure to address you as the students of literature, as you have opted for English as a special subject at FYBL level. Friends, not only you, but we are the students of literature, and literature comes from life. So indirectly, we all are the students of life. Thus, literature teaches us how to live life better. It gives us some guiding principles, some morals, message and values of life. You have been preparing for the examinations by studying your topics of syllabus, and today it would be my effort to help you a little. But friends, remember, we have also to prepare for the examination of life, which we feel at every step, and literature helps us here. It shows us the right path of life. If we study literature with this approach, it becomes rewarding, interesting and never boring. It is because literature holds a mirror to life. We all love to look into mirror every day to see our face reflected. So is the literature. The face of race, moment and milieu is mirrored in literature. Literature is a representation of contemporary society, its problems and trends, situation of man in society, relationship between man and woman, man and nature, and so on. Here in two modern one-act plays, we have a picture of the first phase of 20th century England. The adverse effects of industrialization, urbanization, disintegrity in family lives, social vices, crimes, inhumanity, greed, hypocrisy, degeneration of moral values, indifference to elders, and so many such issues are very well presented in literature of this century. The writer has a vision to present through real life situations with colors of imagination in the form of stories. It gives us entertainment, but along with this, it touches our heart and leaves some indelible impression, some message. And there lies the value and function of literature. Let's see how it works. Today, we are going to unfold the petals of a flower and get its fragrance. And the petals of one-act play are theme, plot, characters, dialogue, stage settings, costumes, etc. The flower of one-act play blossoms for 20 to 40 minutes on the stage. It is different from the usual full-length plays of 3 or 5 acts, which had the 3 unities. In a one-act play, the unity of impression is the soul of it. In a way, it is not a shortened full-length play, but a distinct form of art, just as a short story is a distinct form of art and not merely a summary of a novel. It is conceived as an independent form of one-act play and developed according to its own requirements and technique. Its special features are unity, economy of words, shortness, single dominant theme, and assimilation of all things as a whole. It's a very suitable form of entertainment in the age of hustle and bustle. Radio and TV also demand one-act plays rather than full-length plays. Now friends, let's take up one-act play The Bishop's Candlesticks by Norman Macmillan. The first petal of this play would be the playwright. We should know something about the playwright because the playwright is reflected in its work of art. This play is written by Norman Macmillan, who is born in England. He was both a film actor and a dramatist. Born on 10th February 1870 at Maxwell Town, Scotland, and died at an age of 62 on 29th March 1932 in England, London. His father was an engineering student and who was doing a business in engineering, but he chose acting as a profession. He appeared in many stage roles in the UK, Australia, and South Africa. He became well known for playing the roles of many Shakespearean characters. He did number of films, the best known of which is Alfred Hitchcock's Downhill. He was known for writing several easily stageable one-act plays, and The Bishop's Candlesticks is one among them. He has adapted this play from the opening chapters of Victor Hugo's famous novel Les Miserables. As the playwright is a stage and film artist, he has a keen theatrical sense. In the stage direction, stage property, dialogue, mannerism of characters, behavior, and so on, the writer's experience and dramatic insight is evident. This play is built on a very simple plot involving only 5 characters. So we are unfolding the second petal of one-act play as the characters. The first character or the main role in this play is that of the bishop, means a senior clergyman at a church. Second, the convict, means the criminal, culprit or prisoner. The third character is Parswami, the bishop's sister, a widow. Fourth, Mary, the housemaid, and the fifth is sergeant of police. One-act play has a limited number of characters. The time in the beginning of last century and the place is France, about 30 miles from Paris. Now let us have a look at the fourth petal, the plot. It revolves round a story that brings forth the themes of Christian virtues like love, compassion, and faith in humanity. Before we remember anything, friends, we should remember the focus or the theme of the play. When the curtain raises, we see the kitchen of the bishop's cottage. Parswami and Mary, the housemaid, are engaged in conversation regarding the whereabouts of the bishop, who is a kind and generous fellow, always ready to help the needy. But sister feels that the simplicity and nobility of bishop is being misused by people, and he feels an easy prey due to his innocence. That might he has gone to Mary's mother's place to see her as she was ill. But Parsami says, I unquote, we simultaneously open the petal of dialogue as well, which I quote from the text, that is 3 one-act plays edited by C. Mahajan. This is the textbook for the syllabus of English literature at FYBL level. Parsami says, I quote, I am sure Mary's mother is not so ill that you need have stayed out on such a night as this. I believe those people pretend to be ill just to have the bishop on call on them. They have no thought of the bishop. Page 6. After some time, Parsami comes to know that the salt cellars which were gifted by her mother has been given away by the bishop to help Mary Gringoire to pay the rent of her house. This is not fair according to Parsami, because in this way all the things in the house will be sold away one after the other. So it makes him, Parsami, not to give away the silver candlesticks, which were also her mother's valuable gift. Having said this, she goes to sleep. Here, Parsami, as a worldly woman reflected in the play, she is neither as selfless as her brother nor so noble. She did not like her brother to live for others and not for himself. She thought people took an unfair advantage of his charitable nature. But the bishop thought that if the people pretended to be in distress and deceived him, then they are poorer in spirit and not he. His door were open, never shut, opened for everybody. In the subsequent scene, the play takes an interesting turn. After Parsami went to sleep, when the bishop was also about to go to bed, a convict entered the house. At the point of his knife, he demanded food from the bishop and threatens to kill him in case he informs others about his presence in the house. The bishop remained calm and undisturbed. He said, I quote, My friend, why should I call out? Can I help you in any way? I unquote. Page 9. He called Parsami and asked her to give some supper to the convict. The convict wondered why the bishop kept his doors and windows open and whether or not he was afraid of thieves and robbers. The bishop told him that he was not afraid, but that he was sorry for them, as they were only poor sufferers. He treated the convict with fatherly love and affection, who says, once again I quote, You have your soul to lose, my son, your soul to lose. It is more valuable than my heart. Unquote. Page 9. The bishop saw a human being in the prisoner without any fear. The convict reveals his true identity to the bishop. Let's refer to his dialogue when the bishop said, You have suffered much. The convict seemed to be puzzled and exclaimed, Suffered! Suffered! Ha ha ha! My God, yes! But that's a long time ago. Ha ha! That was when I was a man. Now I am not a man. Now I am a number. number 15729, and I have lived in the hell for 10 years with this identity, unquote. It's so long ago I forgot, but I had a little cottage. There were vines growing on it. They looked pretty well with evening sun on them, and there was a woman. She must be my wife. Yes, I remember. She was ill. We had no food. I could get no work. It was a bad year. And my wife, my Janet, was ill, dying. Oh. So I stole to buy her food. They caught me. I pleaded to them. I told them why I stole, but they laughed at me, and I was sentenced to 10 years in the prison. 10 years in hell. The night I was sentenced, the jailer told me, "Hey, your wife is dead. Damn them! God curse them all! God curse them all!" I unquote. Page 12. This is how the seeds of his hatred against the system, the police, and prison are sown in a normal human being. They regarded him as a born criminal and treated him like a beast for 10 long years. They chained him up like a wild animal, beaten him like a dog, fed him on filth. The text says, I quote, "Oh God, they took away my name, my soul, and they gave me devil in its place." I unquote. Page 13. Then one day, when they were careless, they forgot to chain up their wild beast, me, and he escaped. He was free, but free to starve, because as he was a prisoner, nobody would give him any job. The police hunted him down. He was running away, hiding here and there, and starving. So he stole again for food. Thus, society, with its wrong attitude, did not give him a chance to lead a good life as a human being. Then he found the bishop's house open. During this stay in the bishop's house, he saw 2 silver candlesticks. The bishop told him that they were his mother's gift to him. But the convict is unable to resist the temptation to steal them. The kind-hearted bishop made a bed for him and asked him to sleep. The convict suspected that why the bishop was so kind to him. He said, I quote, "I believe you want to convert me. Save my soul, don't you call it? Well, it's no good, see. I don't want any damned religion, and as far as the church, bah! I hate the church. I don't want any of your faith, hope, and charity. So anything you do for me, you are doing to the devil. Understand?" I unquote. Page 14. Here, the convict is seen as he had lost his faith in religion, church, and even in himself. He has lost his name also, and remembered by his number in prison. That was a great tragedy. Society had turned him into a devil, and it was so hard a label that he found it difficult to come out of it. He did not want any preaching, though he was given a bed to sleep. For that night his devil within him did not allow him to sleep. On finding Bishop slept and finding him safe afterwards, he looks around and sees the candlesticks again. Quote, candlesticks worth hundreds. If I had these turned into money, they would start me fair. The old boy is fond of them too, said his mother gave him them. Unquote. Page 15. The convict reminded of his mother at this point that nobody had thought of my mother when they sent me to jail. He becomes sentimental. His inner being is getting soft. He may give up the idea of stealing the candlesticks. But the other moment, the prisoner number 15792 rose stronger. Society is not good. Steal the candlesticks and run away. Otherwise, you will have to listen to the preaching of the bishop next morning. I unquote. Ultimately, he runs away with the candlesticks. As he went out, the door slammed. Parsami got up at the sound and found out that the convict had stolen the candlesticks and had gone away. The bishop was sorry to lose them, as they were his mother's gift. But like a true Christian, he felt that he was responsible for the convict's behavior. By keeping them before him, he had led him into temptation. He used to value the candlesticks very highly. It is a sin to get too much attached to wealth. They might be more useful to the convict than him. So he thought what had happened for the good. However, the convict couldn't go too far and was nabbed by the police. The police brings him back to the bishop. Parsami was very happy to get the candlesticks back, but the bishop realized that it was a very good chance to forgive the convict and to show him the path of goodness, to change his life. There lies the quality of bishop, to change the heart of the convict. So the bishop told that the accused was his friend and that he himself had given them the candlesticks. The police sergeant released the convict and went away. Now the real result of the goodness of bishop starts coming up. The convict was highly surprised by the love and kindness of the bishop, and now he is convinced that goodness is there in life. He regained his faith in man and religion. He felt sorry for his behavior. He really felt that he was once again a human being and not a beast. The bishop explained to Parsami that had he accused him of theft, the police would have sent him to jail again, back to hell, and there won't be any possibility to turn this convict into a good human being. The convict has restored in his belief of goodness and asked for the blessings of the bishop to start a new life. He hangs his head very shamefully. He tried to speak, but sob almost chokes him up. He thanked the bishop. I quote, "Eh, thanks, monsieur. I am a fool, a child to cry, but somehow you have made me feel that it is just as something had come into me, as if I were a new man again and not a wild beast." I unquote. Page 19. We are proceeding to the end of the play. The bishop's target is achieved. He blessed the convict and showed him the shortcut to go to Paris during night. By patting his shoulder, he says, I quote, "Always remember, my son, that this poor body is the temple of the living God." I repeat, always remember, my son, that this poor body is the temple of the living God. Unquote. Page 19. These words touched the heart of the convict. He repeated the words with great awe. The temple of the living God. I'll remember. Curtain comes down slowly. Friends, this is how the play ends on the stage. Now, it is our duty and responsibility to grasp the major themes, the role of characters, the main event of the play, the atmosphere of the play, and so on and so forth, in the form of discussion as well as criticism. Now, as far as F5BA class is concerned, I would like to clarify that this play should be read in the class line by line and explained to the students so that they can comprehend the story very well, because story is the structure, the framework in which the message, the characters, the incidents, the dialogues are filled in. So when we know the story completely and satisfactorily, we should think of other things. In this book, as the play is over, exercises are given. In the comprehension exercises, there are short answered questions. They are 16 in number, but they are either one-liner or 2 lines responses, which you can easily find out from the play. You also will try to read this play on your own after the completion of the play in the class. Now, let me see. The first question, very simple, which will grasp your understanding and comprehension both. Why did the bishop go to Mary's mother's place? Now all the students know the answer, but some of them will raise their fingers and others would not. It is because for the rest, it is difficult to arrange the answer in correct English sentence. Here, I would ask the students, those who know the answer, and after getting their answer, I'll ask him to repeat once again, and the other students will also follow him. The very simple answer to this question is, the bishop went to Mary's mother's place to see her because she was ill. Only one-liner. So in this manner, if you go to all these questions one by one, giving their answers in 1 or 2 sentences each, you will revise the entire play in your mind once again. Now let us focus on the incidents. I hope you follow well that the main incident of this play or the story is the change of heart of the convict and the role of the bishop in this transformation. This is the role of religion, moral preachers, saints, and such people. So let us see how the convict's heart is changed. Now when you answer any question, it is our common experience while we assess your answer books, you simply repeat the story. You do not go beyond the story. But the convict's change of heart is not merely reflected in the story. Of course, it is there, but you have to bring something more valuable, something more fruitful, something higher than the story element. You should write some elements of story, but also add your comprehension, add your reading, add the psychology of the characters, add the message that the play conveys, and so on and so forth. This will make your answer perfect. Let me see. The convict's change of heart. This is the main focus of the play. The play tells us about the reformation of the convict. Reformation to form once again. Once he was a human being, he stole something, he was caught by the police, sent to the jail, kept there as a beast for 10 long years. So you have to mention these lines of story element in a nutshell. The playwright emphasizes that every sinner can be reformed. This is what you should write. Every sinner can be reformed. His soul can always be saved. This is the belief of Christianity. If a spirit culprit is treated with love and sympathy, he would definitely improve. Person like the bishop can play an important role in improving or in transforming the nature of human beings. The reformation of the convict is beautifully described in the play. The bishop was reading a book when the convict silently entered in his room. The convict threatened to kill the bishop and parson if they shouted. There was a sharp knife in his hand. He was hungry. He asked for food. The bishop at once asked his sister to give the convict food and drink. This is story element. He told the bishop the tale of his long and terrible suffering. He said that he had run away from the prison. He told the bishop that he was then an animal, a mere number 15279, no human being. The bishop consoled him and addressed him as my friend, my son. The bishop was filled with pity to hear the tragic story of the convict. He was a real religious person. He was a true messenger of God. He knew his duty well. He told the convict that there was hope for him yet. Still you can be improved. Don't think of yourselves as a beast, as you were in prison. Now you are out of prison. Now you are amongst us. So we, the religious people, may help you to recover, to revive. He knew his duty well. He told the convict that there was hope for him yet. He made a bed for the convict and went to sleep without suspicion and anxiety. These are the great qualities of bishop. We also never as common man. It is the bishop and bishop only who could do this. The convict saw the bishop's candlesticks. He could not check himself, control himself, and made off with the candlesticks. The bishop and Parsami woke up and found it. Parsami wanted to inform the police, but the bishop stopped her. After some time, the police sergeant appeared with the convict. He placed the candlesticks before the bishop for identification. But the bishop acted kindly. He wanted to reform the convict. He at once told the sergeant that the convict was his friend. He had given him the candlesticks. The sergeant was surprised to see the generosity of the bishop. He set the convict free. The convict was touched by the bishop's behavior. He found fatherly love and a religious-hearted man's affection for a culprit. He felt ashamed of his conduct. From this point, his transformation from a wild beast into a human being starts. He was filled with repentance. After speaking a few words, he became speechless. He couldn't speak further. He hung his head with shame. By this time, the convict had fully changed. The evil from his heart had vanished. The bishop told him to remember that this poor body is the temple of living God. You may quote this from the text, so that it may create an impression that you have read the text. The change was so touching that he would never go wrong again. This is how the convict's heart was changed. His soul was pure. He was a good man earlier, but the shadow of that crime was on his soul, and his body was kept in prison for 10 long years in the such a brutal affairs under the policeman, the sergeant, and the jailer, that he forgot his own self, that I was a real human being. My soul was pure. So, it is the duty of the religion, the preacher, the bishop, as a lighthouse, to show the real light of love, affection, kindness, humanity to such people who have gone astray from the path of humanity. So this sort of writing must be there in your answer, which we may feel interested to read and be generous to give good marks. Now, if someone would say, what is the moral of this play? Then what would you say? The same such things will be repeated, because once you have the raw material of storyline is complete with you, your understanding also will help you a lot in preparing the correct answer for the correct question. The moral of the story of the play or the message will not require the entire storyline from beginning to end. You may highlight some of the points here and there and stress on what the writer Norman Macmillan wants to convey through this story. Why he has written this? What was his intention? Has it really conveyed to the reader? Has the reader liked it very much, entertained himself, and also got something to be carried away with him out of the theatre? These are the questions which are related to this theme of the play or moral of the play. Dear friends, always remember that no literature is written, is created or produced without any purpose, without any message, because writer is such a thinking being who observes the society and wants to point out certain aching nerves and improve the situation, not directly but indirectly through sugar coated pills. As philosophy would give the message directly that these things are called human values, these are the pillars of religion, Christianity, so on and so forth. But when this duty is performed by the man of letters, by the writers, he created a framework to entertain the reader or the viewer, and simultaneously he gives some doses of message, of moral, of virtues, which we saw or which we read in this play. The Bishop's Candlesticks is a moral play. It suggests that virtue produces virtue, just as vice produces vice. Very simple. Virtue is produced by virtue and vice is produced by vice. Evil cannot remove evil from human society. Kshama, we say in Hindu religion, Kshama paramo dharma. If you forgive someone, the heart of that fellow would automatically be changed. It is only goodness that can cure society of many of its ills. In this play, we have two persons of different temperament. One is the bishop and the other is the convict. The bishop is good, noble, and virtuous. The convict is a criminal. It seems that goodness has vanished from his heart. If there is a spark of goodness, it can be kindled into a flame again. See, I am not narrating a story. I am giving you the message. But if I require this storyline, I will make use of them in my answer. And a bad man becomes a good man. It requires sincerity, patience, and loving effort on the part of the reformer, the role played by the bishop. No criminal is past reform. It is wrong to think that once a criminal is always a criminal. The label of a criminal is stuck forever. It is not so. A criminal can be reformed. No one is born criminal. Society makes a man good or bad. For example, the convict lived and moved about in an unhealthy atmosphere. Thus he turned out a bad man, and then society is also unsympathetic. It does not think under what circumstances a man is forced to commit a crime. It punishes him without thinking whether the punishment is proper. In most cases, the punishment is too heavy for a small crime. No chance is given to the criminal to reform himself. Nobody listens to him. This play suggests a new method, It does not appreciate punishment for its own sake. In fact, punishment is a wrong and ineffective remedy. It is not the solution. In most cases, it makes a man worse than he was. Love, sympathy, and consideration are needed to reform a bad man. Here, I remember Jayaprakash Narayan and Mahatma Gandhi, who fought against the evils of society with the powerful weapons of ahimsa, satya, and kshama. The whole society was indifferent towards the convict. He was badly treated everywhere. Nobody gave him a job. No one is sympathetic with him. He was tortured in the prison. The result was that he continued to grow worse. At last, he happened to meet the bishop. The whole course of his life is changed. The bishop showed all love and pity to the convict. He gave him food and shelter. He believed him even though he looked wicked. The bishop even told a lie to reform him. See, sometimes falsehood is also necessary to achieve some good objective. It is said in our scriptures also. He said to the sergeant that the convict was his friend and that he had given him the candlesticks. Now this is storyline. The effect of bishop's goodness on the convict was very deep and powerful. So the falsehood of bishop created a good impact on bishop's mind. The convict became a changed man. He felt repentant and wept bitterly. He was speechless. The bishop consoled him and said that the body is the temple of living God. The convict fell at his feet and asked for forgiveness. Thus, the moral of the play is that kindness and goodness have a wonderful effect. A criminal is not born, he is made. In the same way, he can be reformed with the help of religion, spirituality, one's belief in soul, one's belief in values of life, morals of life, and in humanity. This is the ultimate message that this play conveys. Now, sometimes the character sketches of persons are asked. Then also you will have to describe the good qualities of the person whom you narrate. Instead of putting more stress on his physical appearance, you should also and emphatically pay stress on his internal qualities. This is what is expected in a character sketch, because you not only show the person but the personality, not only the body but the soul, the mind, the inner being of that person. So if you can remember this while you draft questions answer, your answer would be good, perfect. If we see the character sketch of the bishop, then when you attempt a long question, please begin with the introduction paragraph, then mention the qualities of that person one by one, and then conclude with your observations. This would give you a nice way to look at a character, and your answer would look systematic. Students ask us in the class, "Sir, what to write in the examination, how to write it?" So here I tell you that attempt a long question with these steps. So first, introduction, the character sketch of the bishop. The bishop is the central figure in the play. First, his position. He has become important in the history of kindness and forgiveness. He is pious, holy, virtuous, and generous. He has no feelings of bitterness and revenge in his heart for anyone. His heart is the temple of love, sympathy, and kindness. He is ever ready to help anyone in trouble, even at the cost of his comfort. He is a living example of faith, hope, and charity. These are the introductory remarks about the bishop's character. Now, points: a generous and charitable man. The bishop was generous to the bottom of his heart. He helped the needy and the poor. In a very real sense, he was a friend of the poor and the helpless. For example, he sold the salt cellars to pay the rent of Grangoir. He gave his comfort to Mary, his maid servant. He gave us his candlesticks, his dying mother's gift, to the convict, and even told a lie to the police that he had given them to the convict. This is the story element. He called the convict a gentleman and his very good friend. This is his generosity. Second quality, he is a fearless man. The bishop was a fearless man. As he had no ill will against anyone, his doors were all the time open to visitors. He had no fear of theft or robbery, as he believed in human goodness. He was a man of moral courage. Faith drives out all fear, and he was a man of faith. The fierce-looking convict entered his room, but the bishop remained calm and unperturbed. Third quality is a hospitable and forgiving man. The bishop was very hospitable. Visitors were welcome at his house all time. He entertained them to the best of his capacity. He was nice and good to all. He was a priest in the sense of the word. He did not inform the police when the convict stole his candlesticks. He was sorry for the convict when the police caught him and brought him to his place. He showed no anger, no revenge. He rather called him his friend. He acted like a truly religious man trying to reform a culprit. Now, in the concluding remark, you can say, in brief, the bishop was a real religious man, a man of moral principles, moral courage. He practiced what he preached. His character shows that a virtuous man can reform bad people. He reformed the convict with love and affection. In fact, the bishop practiced the Christian ideal of love and kindness. He did with this charity to the whole machinery of law, justice, and punishment could ever do. So this is how, my dear students, as we began, at the end we relate our topic with the theme of the play, and the theme of the play was love and kindness can reform a bad person. For this message only, the writer has produced this play, and along with the story element, along with the presentation of characters and the incident, he has given us this message. If you understand literary pieces like this in this manner, I don't think literature is difficult. The only thing is that you should write in correct English language. That is the training of language which will be useful to answer the questions in literature. So your grammar, your spellings, your style of writing, your presentation should support your knowledge of the play or the story or whatever you learn. With this, I conclude my today's session, and once again thank all of you for listening me, for viewing me, my presentation, and thanks to BISAG, SANDHAN and KCG for this opportunity given to me. Thank you very much.
SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.